So welcome everyone. Let us begin. Thank you all for joining today. And on behalf of the UP's Green Office team, I welcome all of you to our second webinar, in which we are going to explore together with our guest the true cost and sustainability of our favorite drink. Let me just start by introducing myself. My name is Franzi. I'm a member of the UP's Green Office, and I will guide you through this webinar today. Before we start, please make sure that your microphone is muted and your camera turned off. This will provide us a clear video quality while listening to today's guest and looking to our PowerPoint. Be aware that this session will be recorded. We are going to provide you the link afterwards. Please use the chat box for comments, thoughts, and questions. We will have time to integrate and discuss your questions at the end of our session. And don't hesitate to contact us through our email and social media in case you have any questions afterwards. The UP's Green Office is recently a team of 11 UPCs, and today I'm here again with Sierra, Joy, Joost, who's sharing the PowerPoint, and Tia Maike, who will be assisting with questions from the chat. So before we welcome today's guest, I hereby hand it over to our UP's Outreach and Engagement Manager, Sierra, who will provide us a brief overview of the Green Office and its activities. Sierra, you can go ahead. We're just waiting a few seconds. Okay. Sierra mentioned some internet problems at the beginning, so we will skip this part for now. And we're going to start by introducing our guest. I'm just going to mention that the Green Office is a student-led sustainability hub addressing topics on sustainability and implementation strategies. If there is time, Sierra is going to introduce this part and the activities of the Green Office at the end of our session today. So coffee is one of the most commonly consumed beverages in the world. But what is the true cost of a cup of coffee? Which are strategies of sustainable coffee production? The UP's Green Office is excited and happy to discuss the true cost of coffee and related aspects with our guest today, Guillermo Vargas Leitón. His family migrated to Monteverde. Monteverde is a region in the northern part of Costa Rica, and they migrated 1955 and became the first coffee growers in this area. Guillermo is passionate about sustainable agriculture and being an educator, and we are excited to learn about Monteverde coffee and Live Monteverde. Welcome, Guillermo. We are looking forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Francisca, and all the students from the Green Office at UP's. This is a good opportunity for both you and me to learn more about how we can improve not only the environmental impact of growing a specific crop, coffee in this case, but also how is it that by producing and consuming coffee, we also can provide more social opportunities for people in our region. As Francisca mentioned, we have been working in coffee since 1955 here in Monteverde, but from our grandfather and great-grandfather, it was during the late 30s when they started growing coffee in this region. The company Unión Barzán was established in 1989, and in this case, it was a mix of the second and third generation of our family who started the Unión Barzán. Today, we integrate the next generation, so now our children. Barzán is the combination of two last names, Vargas. Most of the members are in the family Vargas, my family, and Santa Maria, one of the founding members. In Monteverde, we are well known as Café de Monteverde, is like the brand of our coffee, but also as Life Monteverde, which is more about the education work we do here. Now, Monteverde, next, please. Monteverde is located in the northeast part of Costa Rica. We are up in the mountains. We grow coffee between 12 to 1,400 meters above the sea level. Monteverde is a well-recognized cloud forest in the world, and it was since 1972 or so, late 60s, that we started doing conservation. So this company is in the middle of long-term conservation efforts in trying to preserve the cloud forest and its biodiversity. So what we do here at our farm has to do with the fact that as children, teenagers, and then adults, we are part of this long-term conservation effort. Monteverde is today mostly depending on tourism, but I'm going to share with you a little bit about this transition between agriculture and tourism. Next, please. So it was during the late 70s when we started transitioning from farming into ecotourism in Monteverde. Before that, we were mostly depending on dairy farming, so milking cows every day, and harvesting and processing coffee. The dairy industry was very well organized and property of most of the dairy farmers under the name of Monteverde Cheese Factory. It was property of a group of about 300 farmers until 6-7 years ago, when it was sold to a multinational. The coffee activities was first during the 50s, 60s, 70s, in terms of small coffee growers, very small ones, maybe 1 to 2 hectares per family, selling their crops to a larger producer who was also the owner of the only one coffee mill. In the late 80s, coffee was organized as a cooperative, and it was the time when the coffee growers better understood about quality, about market. But also in the middle of the 80s, because of some research that was done in the Cloud Forest Reserve during the 70s and 80s, at the late 80s, the tourists start arriving more and more, from maybe 5,000 visitors a year in 1984 to up to 150,000 in year 2000, and recently up to almost 200,000 tourists a year. So more and more people coming to Monteverde are looking not for cows, but for quetzals. Next, please. So Unión Barzán was established as a farming company in 1989. At the beginning, my oldest brother, Jose Luis, Don Cesar, one of our good friends, and myself, we started here, this farm, the one we named also later as Life, growing coffee, producing milk, and then for a few years also growing chickens for eggs and chicken for meat for the growing industry of restaurants and hotels in the tourism business. That was the 90s. In the late 90s, we decided to focus more and more in coffee. Then in 2008, because of my strong backgrounds in environmental education, conservation, I'm also a forestry engineer, but mostly because of my strengths on education, we decided to dedicate this farm to provide education in terms of sustainability. Learning process for local students from prepa, kinder, primary school, high school, later also to students coming from abroad. Monteverde is a good destination for many students coming mostly from the United States and Canada, very few from Europe. So Life was established in 2008 to provide short-term activities for students trying to understand how we interact farming, conservation of nature, and also tourism. A few years later, 2012, we decided also to start with the Monteverde Coffee Tour. So bringing to the farm not only students, but also tourists. To give you an idea, before COVID-19, we had an average of 50,000 tourists a year. During the last maybe 4 years, 50,000 tourists a year doing coffee tours in Monteverde. We are not the largest coffee tour. In 2019, we had close to 5,000. So there are two other very large coffee tours, each one of them maybe with 20,000 tourists a year. Next, please. So we established our mission, our vision. We are here trying to use. For now, we mostly produce coffee and some other crops for food. But here we are also to educate. We understand that one of the best maybe roles we can play in the society is to provide educational opportunities on how to perpetuate life on Earth. Eventually, humans may not be here, but we strongly believe that we have all of us to perpetuate life as possible in this planet. We want to be recognized as worldwide for our contribution to the sustainability of the planet. We strongly believe that no matter how small we are, we can have a great impact in this planet. We believe that in each corner of this country, in each corner of this planet, we have small business, family-owned, community-owned that can create good models and little by little to influence more and more people for the better of the planet. Next, please. So Barsan is today property of, we are 13 members. From these 13 members, 7 we are brothers, sisters. My father, he was a member till last year when he died. Then now we have, I think, 4 of our children became members. They are in 27 to 35 years old. And we have some good friends also as members. We have been dedicated to coffee now for about 4 generations. We process the coffee from our own properties. We have 4 small properties that are co-owned by Barsan, but we also buy coffee from some local producers in the same Monteverde region. During the year, we have a permanent staff of about 32 people. This is people working on the fields, processing, roasting. We have 2 coffee shops here in Monteverde, and we also have people working in our gardening, composting, and of course also a group of us, we are working more on education and agrotourism. Next, please. So this is a kind of aerial view of part of one of our farms. The four properties we have are a mix of forests and coffee. In the past, part of what you see in like small lots with borders of windbreaks, those areas were dedicated to the cows. But more than 15 years ago, we decided to turn all the pasture into coffee. We have already planted the windbreaks in the early 90s, and also part of the forest, about 50% of the property is under natural forest. Next, please. So Monteverde is a relatively young community. The first settlers came to this region in about 100 years ago. In fact, my great-grandfather did it in 1917. So during the first half of the past century, they did the deforestation for the growing the crops for the pastures, then more and more for the dairy farms. But in the late 80s, we started with a local NGO, the Monteverde Conservation League, which is today the owner of the International Children Rainforest, the largest private protected area in Costa Rica. We started the reforestation programs. So today the forest you see in Monteverde is a mix of the natural forest, the secondary forest, and the reforestation we did. Here at our farm, we have been in a permanent reforestation process since 1989. Next, please. So as Varsan, we do all the process. In fact, this morning we were carrying the new coffee seedlings for replanting some areas. We do this normally in May, June, at the beginning of the rainy season. So the picture on the left and up is when we first did the terracing. We have to do the terracing, working with the shovels, and then we go planting the coffee. We look for the best seeds with the specific varieties that are well adapted to the new climate conditions. We harvest the coffee, we sun dry the coffee. The building left down is our coffee roaster. We call the coffee lab, where we also do the reception of the tourists and the students to do coffee tasting sessions. And then the coffees, the different types of coffee we roast here in different process, different roast. And of course, all this is about people. Next, please. So when we started with coffee in the middle of the 50s, my father and mother, they married in 1955. So very soon, in a term of 25 years, we went to 1 kid to 12. So 12 kids in my family. We were able to do all of the harvesting in the 70s, 80s. Today, we have no more 8, 10 children, but 2, 1, 3. And then when we grow as a family corporation, like in this case, a small family corporation, then we need to hire people. So this man in the center of this slide is one of the about 40, 45 coffee pickers arriving from Nicaragua every year, helping us from November to beginning of March. They have been participating with Varsan for about 30 years now. It's a long-term partnership we have with a community from the Ometepe Island in the Nicaragua lake. We have our herd in the middle of the Nicaragua people also, because we understand that they have to migrate because they need to provide food and health to their children. And we understand that no matter who decide to create the borders between our countries, we are only one when we need to solve our needs and support each other. The two girls on the left and down, they are two of the girls working in our coffee shops. And of course, since March 15 this year, our coffee shops are closed because the tourism collapsed in Monteverde. So now we decided to keep all of the staff, all of the 32 staff members, but only part-time. And since there is not much work to do in some sections of our company, like the coffee shops, so these workers from the coffee shops, they come to the farm and they learn to work in the farm. So they are learning what it requires to do before serving a cup of coffee at the coffee shop. And they get more love and passion and understanding about the coffee then later they are going to sell. And here at the farm, the people, we also love very much the kids, the children. They come here to interact with nature. So when we talk about the people, we are talking about ourselves, our children, the people working on the field, the people working in processing, roasting, in getting to the market. But more and more, we are talking about the new generation that we have to educate for sustainability goals. Next, please. So LIFE is the name of our central farm, the one we do more for education. LIFE is also an acronym that means low impact for Earth. So LIFE. So LIFE is all the education we do here with students, with our neighbors, with the tourists. This year we don't have any more students coming from abroad, even from the local schools, since the school have not opened yet. We still have some local people these days, but since the quarantine, most of the people at the farm today is just us with the permanent workers, and using this time to think more and learn more about the future once the pandemic goes, we hope. Next, please. So our concept and practice of learning is you learn when you do. You learn by doing, and by doing and learning, then you recreate your learning process. You don't learn much using only the books. Yes, we need the books. We need to learn from others who learned before us. So we have to learn from those who were here 100 or 1,000 years ago. But any person who wants to learn must use must put in practice and then improve what learns. So here, every day, when you see people here, is people shoveling the compost to understand not only the role of compost in improving organic conditions, but also to understand the physical work that it requires. The picture on our right down, the old woman is Doña Alba. She's the one who is in charge of our garden here. In this case, she's teaching some visitors about frijoles, how to grow frijoles, how to harvest frijoles. So Doña Alba is not only the one who produces lettuce and tomatoes and potatoes, but now she's learning how to share her knowledge also with visitors. Next, please. So, trying to protect native forests, which is protecting biodiversity, which is protecting the secrets of the forest of life for the future. Trying to more and more move towards organic production. We are not organic certified. We still use some synthetic fertilizer, and we still have to use some chemical control for the rust, the worst disease we have in coffee. But we don't use any more herbicides for the last 10 years. And every year we are producing about 20,000 kilos, 20,000 kilos of organic fertilizer. More and more we are doing also natural pesticide control. Then we need to understand the cycle of life of any disease of test we have here. And that's something that we already have some experience. We use solar energy for drying our coffee. And little by little, we are reducing the amount of water that is used in coffee processing. But again, all this is great and better when we share this experience. So we think that it's good to have farms producing healthier food, but it's better when farms are turned into outdoor schools. Next, please. This is the tree you see here on your right is the tree of life, is one of the classrooms we have here. When we visit that tree, we talk about long term, we talk about culture, we talk about how just one tree can provide food for many different microorganisms. We talk about enjoying nature, having fun in nature. But this was until a few weeks ago, and now we are in a moment of trying to understand the new steps in the new context we have now after COVID-19. Next, please. So life is today a combination of local alliances, travel agencies, overseas alliances, and local universities. Life interacts, and maybe we better see the next slide. Next, please. So these are our network of alliances. We connect with left and up with INA, National Institute for Learning in Costa Rica, with the Coffee Institute, with coffee farmers. We have coffee traders. One of our main markets or buyers in the United States. We connect with Tarrazu, another larger coffee cooperative in Costa Rica, to learn from them. We connect with many institutions, most of them from the United States, in terms of education, like Blythe from Canada, CIEE, the Monteverde Institute, a local NGO, connecting now with many universities from the United States. But this network of links that help us to understand that sustainability is not only about your farm, it's not only about your property, it's not only about your business, it's not only about your country. Sustainability is about connections, it's about interactions, it's about sharing resources, knowledge, goals. Next, please. Yes, we produce processed coffee, we commercialize coffee, we do ecotourism, we do education. We try to understand how this provides a kind of good opportunity to share with some other farmers and educational centers around Costa Rica and the world. Next, please. Okay, that's it. Very welcome to any question. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Guillermo, for this interesting presentation. And at this point, I would like to add a personal note. So due to situation, I had to leave earlier, and these were the only souvenirs I brought from Costa Rica, Monteverde coffee. And honestly, they are very valuable ones, because as Guillermo already mentioned, Monteverde coffee production is linked to a variety of aspects. For instance, Monteverde's culture and unique biodiversity, education, and human rights. So coffee is very applicable to draw up connections. Of course, it is also linked to food security and environmental impact. And for sure, we are interested to learn about it more. So some of you are probably wondering now how Monteverde coffee tastes. And at this point, I want to congratulate our 10 winners of our side event, who are living in and around Ciudad Colón and received early this morning a delivery of Monteverde cold brew coffee. I want to thank the cold brew brewers Chu, Mark, and Chong Shui, who delivered the coffee with the low carbon footprint method early this morning. Right now, I hand it over to Joy, our UP's Green Office Strategy and Evaluation Manager, and who coordinated our teamwork effort to organize today's webinar. To build on what has been said and to broaden our view together with Guillermo in order to further explore the true cost of coffee.
So hi everyone, and thank you, Francie. So my name is Joy, and thank you so much for your insightful presentation, Guillermo. So now I believe that all the participants is having thoughts and questions, and now I see several questions already. Before that, I would like to ask for 10 people who received the coffee, like please chat to us a bit, like how does it taste and how do you feel about your coffee in the cup when you're knowing more about your beverage, and in the chat box. So please write something to us, and then let's begin the questions, the Q&A session. So Guillermo, after we listen to your presentation, so we have a question about climate change a bit, like has the climate change on the climate on Monteverde changed from 1955 when your family migrate to the area? So if so, how the change affect to the mountain and how people adapt to the change, especially those farmers?
So we noticed the biggest climate change in the last maybe 30 years. Since the 50s to late 80s, the climate was kind of the same. But it is the last maybe 30 years when because we also have data of temperature and precipitation here at the Cloud Forest Reserve, then we can say the last 30 years the temperature went up about 2 degrees Celsius in this term. The precipitation went very, very high, interesting, but the number of dry days a year almost tripled. So highest temperature, it drains more, but we have more dry days. It drains more, but very heavy and very short. Because of the warmer conditions, then as farmers, and particularly in coffee, we have seen new diseases arriving to Monteverde. So like the red rust was not here until about 20, 25 years ago. It came up the hill according to the warming conditions. Recently, in about 10 years or so, this beetle, the broca, the boar beetle, also arrived here. So more challenges in terms of pests and diseases, more erosion of the soil because of the heavy precipitation. So for the farming, also the fact that you cannot expect anymore like this will be the time when the rainy season starts is strange. So now we have some rains in the middle of the dry season, March, even February, April, May. So because of that, the flowers of the coffee come in different moments. So the harvest season is more extended, makes more complicated to harvest. Now for us, this is something that since we work on the fields, we notice this, and we may not have all the information. We need more research done about this, because most of the biologists who are in Monteverde, they for years and years they were only studying the specific connections in the middle of the forest. Very few biologists are helping us, the farmers, to understand the new agroecology challenges we have. This is challenging since it takes time to adapt. It takes time to understand the cycle of life of these diseases, to understand what kind of new varieties of coffee will do a better performance against them. But this is what we understand, the learning process of any culture. I think one of the challenges we have today, the modern society, is that we want answers immediately to any challenge. We think that technology and knowledge and scientists can answer very fast the phenomena of nature. But we need to understand that sometimes it will take decades and centuries to understand the changes in the planet. Anyway, this is a kind of philosophical problem, because in the short term, we also have to solve, if possible, the economical problems. In terms of being an ecotourist destination, because we are in the middle of ecotourism destination, the climate change also provokes changes in the biodiversity in the ecosystems. So to give you an idea, most of tourists come to Monteverde to watch the quetzal bird, or the bellbird, or in the very old time, the golden toad. Now it's more difficult, or they come in different moments. So this creates a challenge for us, trying to educate the visitors to understand that wildlife also needs to adapt to climate change. So this provokes people working in education for tourists to update knowledge about the biodiversity, and to explain visitors that this is related to some activities that are not only done here in the local context, that going back to Europe, going back to the United States, going back to Germany, going back to Canada, they have something to do in order to deal with the climate issues. So it's in terms of the fact that we are in the middle of a touristic destination, and we also do farming, climate change again provide us the opportunity to provide a very interesting tour about not only how we grow coffee, but how do farmers adapt to climate challenges.
Thank you so much, Guillermo. Seems like we still have a lot of work to do. So not only the farmers, but I feel like scientists have to provide a lot of inside information to support the situations as well. And thinking about I'm one of the tourists that went to Monteverde, and then thinking about that I'm traveling from Thailand, go to Monteverde, live in Costa Rica, and then I have to fly back to Thailand again. So that's create a lot of carbon footprints, and this is very important that we have to address this issue. So then, can we get more insight about the COVID situations? Because you have mentioned about the human security already, and it is very essential that and we are impressed by how the Cafe Monteverde is dealing with the COVID situation in terms of your this human security. Like around the world currently, that we see the migration trends, that the laborers are laid off due to the business finance and financial situations, and they have no choice, but they have to return to their country, which may make their livelihood vulnerable. So if we think from the perspective of the social enterprise, or maybe any social supporter, do you think how could we do something to fit this situation?
Well, COVID comes to a world in which more than probably 50% of population in this planet live in the cities. And probably in 30 more years, probably 70% of population will be living in larger cities. I mention this because with COVID, one of the things we have to immediately deal with is about food. Once the economy is broken, once we don't have any more tourism in Monteverde, immediately we think about, well, first we need at least food. We need at least food. But here in Monteverde, we still have the land, we still have the culture, we still have the skills. It's easier for us to provide food to our children. Second, COVID comes to this world in which not in all of the countries we have good social and health programs from the governments. So in Costa Rica, at least we have a good health system that protects us. And we Costa Ricans, we don't have to pay a lot of money in order to get access to the hospital immediately when we need in this moment. COVID comes to this world in which, because of most of people, the consumers, and less of the people, less and less in the future, the agriculture, the farmers. So many more people are depending on less people to produce. And the logistic, the way to get food from the rural areas to overpopulated cities without depending on intermediaries is difficult, without depending on large scale. So I think that COVID is a challenge not only in terms of health and the economy in the short term, but COVID reminds us that how are we going to connect as fast as possible healthy food from healthy farms to millions and millions of people living in the cities. Some of those millions of people, they are maybe the third, the fourth generation away from farming. Also the fact that in some countries, we don't have the best political systems to support the majorities. And then we have more and more people, for political reasons, but also because of climate challenges, in need to migrate to different countries. Like we have the Nicaraguans coming to Costa Rica. So what will happen to Costa Rica this year if people from Panama, the Nove indigenous, or Nicaraguans are not able to come and harvest the coffee? Are we, the Costa Ricans, going to harvest the coffee? Yes or no? Why do Nicaraguans have to come to Costa Rica? Because they don't have good economic conditions in Nicaragua, good health conditions, good political conditions. So yes, today we are concerned about who are going to harvest our coffee this year. But my main concern is how we together, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Panama, work as neighbors to provide opportunities for people at home so they don't have to migrate. If they have to migrate, so how we can work together in a way that Nicaraguans are very welcome and very well protected, not coming to work in pineapple plantations and not protected from COVID. It's happening this week, these days. So I think that the challenges are great, and as I mentioned earlier, we cannot be sustainable as a farmer. We cannot be sustainable as a country. It's very urgent to work in conjunction different countries. And I think that why Costa Ricans are not willing to harvest coffee anymore, like we did it 10, 20, 50 years ago. Probably, one, we have better educational opportunities. So the new generations, they don't want to be coffee pickers. They don't want to be coffee growers. They want to be doctors, they want to be biologists, they want to be scientists, they want to and it's okay. They want maybe better incomes. Why they need to do a different activity in order to get better incomes? Because the agricultural activity is not fair value. I think that we have to give the fair value to farming all around the world, the fair value to food. And I understand that probably there are many more hours in order to get a master's degree as a scientist than hours you need to be a farmer, but maybe not. To be a good farmer, you need generations You need many generations to be a good farmer. So at the end, if I do good as a farmer, it's not just because of the few hours I went to take the machete. It's because my father did it, my grandfather did it, so I'm learning from all those. So I think that the day may come when Costa Ricans also should have the opportunity and the fair payment to do agricultural activities, maybe harvesting coffee, maybe harvesting pineapple, and Nicaraguans will still have the right and the opportunity to do their lives in their country. But then, so we have to work beyond the borders.
This is very inspiring. I feel that it's not about we sell our products that we grow, like we're not selling coffee for the money that we buy food later on, but you're thinking about how to strengthen the root of the system, like of the food system, and to provide security of the human, like the basic needs of the human. So this is really like allowed us to zoom out from the coffee trees and to see a very big and complex pictures. And now I get some questions toward the educations as well. So from your presentation that we see the possibilities and efficiency by connecting university students to work with the farmers. And we also see this model like around the world, like similar to what Life already did it. If we wish to expand this implementation model, like we could be how to bring stakeholders into the activities and move the education to teach the people about the sustainability. Thinking about this, like how could we start it systematically, or even like how to engage the business or the people who interested in this model, like how to include them to work together, especially in this situation in 2020 where we are not really allowed to gathering to each other. Thank you.
Well, universities, you have your goals. Farmers, we have our goals. We have to find probably what are some of our common goals. What do we have in common? You go to university, like I did it, because we want to learn. We want to be, I would say, like better educator. We have to be better prepared for a special career. As farmers, we have to learn. So farming is also a kind of university. The farm is a school, and we need to learn. And I think that we need to learn from universities, because universities explore very much every day, every year, different strategies, different methodologies of learning. We need to learn how to learn, I think. So I would love more universities providing small farmers and organizations of farmers around the world training on how to learn from the daily activity, because we need to be more structured in terms of taking data, organizing the information, monitoring our activities, doing evaluations in order to do good decisions, conclusions of what we do. Yes, we need universities and students coming out of the classrooms to the rural areas, to the farms, because you have much to share with us. When you come here, you will learn about the interesting way farmers learn, not even having sometimes in the past a pen, a pencil, or not having a computer. But I think universities should learn how do farmers learn in a term of decades and centuries. And also, we both are connected, because most of people going to universities are consumers, probably in the future. Some of you are the children or the great-grandchildren of the farmers. So you do both. Maybe you do farming, you do education. Some of the farmers, we do both. I went to university, but I'm still a farmer. So I think we need also to look for the collaboration of people having both experiences, farming and working in universities as teachers, or going to university as students. I think that, but But universities must have a very clear policies about the role of the context, the social context, the rural context, about the importance of taking the students out from the classrooms to the fields. The university should support very much learning by doing. So if eventually you want to be an agronomist, then you won't wait for the day you graduate to work with the farm. You start working and learning from the farm from the first year you are studying agronomy. I know that this should be a dialogue. It's not that the university comes to the farmer and say, hey, we would like to learn from you this and this, or we would like to teach you this and this. No, we both meet together and we say, okay, who we are, what our goals are, what our concerns about life are, what kind of values do we have in common, what are your expectations for the future of the community, what are your expectations as a future professional. Okay, what kind of elements do we have in common? How can we learn from each other? I even consider that it's important for small farmers to go and spend some days as interns, as students in a university. Not only students coming to the farm. We have to do both because we also need to understand the context in which the students are every day. I think this is a great opportunity, and more these days, to do more interaction between the academy, the universities, and the small farmers and around the world.
You provide us a very holistic view, and I appreciate that we see something that we can do right now. We are not talking about like let the next generation fix their problems. That yes, there are really some things that we can do like right away, like find a common goals and how we can create the learning platforms, or like how could we make the learning by doing thing that make the education like more lively, I would say, and a more effective way to learn. So unfortunately, we reached the limited time that we have for the Q&A, but Guillermo, I receive a lot of questions right now. So I and Tia Mike will work like to gather all of those questions, and could you please like help us to answer the question from the participants? We will email it to you later. So thank you so much for your answering very complex questions in this session. So now I would like to pass it back to Francie, and we still have some more programs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joy and Guillermo, for this inspiring discussion and Q&A session. And before we sum up, I would like to hand it over to Sierra to talk about the Green Office and the Green Office activities.
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I'm gonna keep my screen off so that maybe, or my video off so that hopefully you can hear me a little better. I've been having some internet troubles. But before this talk, we were hoping to just give you a brief introduction about the Green Office, who we are, what we do. And so ultimately it's just a student-led and staff-supported. Thanks a lot to the operations team at UPeace. And it's just essentially this sustainability, and it didn't begin at UPeace. It's a global a platform that initiates and coordinates a dynamic change process towards environmental sustainability within an institution, and a specific focus on sustainable development and community engagement. And so with this platform, some students from last year, 2018, 2019, decided to bring that to UPeace to work to increase the level of environmental sustainability, not only on campus, but within the Mora community, and just trying to build those relationships and awareness and all those sorts of things. So if you go ahead and go to the next slide, I can tell you about some of the things that we've been doing. A lot of it being just continuing what the last group had done. So they had brought a biodigester to campus to kind of reduce some energy use. And so we have continued this project through, if some of you are UP students, you may remember like when we did the crepe selling and those sorts of things to try to use biodigester gas to be more sustainable, and just promote awareness about some of the things that are going. And ultimately that comes with this idea of engaging students. So we held a tour, and we have things that we're just trying to help students understand what things we have at UP. For example, in this bottom left corner, you see solar ovens, and also just letting people know about maybe the solar panels that we have, and the waste centers, and the water saving technology that we have installed at UPs, and just trying to get students to connect with that environmental identity. And also we try to do things such as improving just the functionality of things like this waste center in this photo, just trying to make it more organized so that things end up where they're supposed to be, and kind of giving students the message of why that is important. And then also initiating. So one of the things that we've done that was cool was a trash cleanup. And so just trying to, not only on campus, but extending into the community to try to create a better space, a better just ultimate environmental and sustainable identity. And we also have things right now. One of our big things that was really cool is we just had a moringa planting, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, around 200 moringa trees were planted on campus. And so this is the ultimate goal of this, is to eventually get to a place of carbon neutrality and offsetting some of those emissions because of how great these plants are, and a lot of what we hear. So, ultimately our purpose at the Green Office is to get students connected with these ideas and help them understand and grow in their environmental awareness. And so yeah. You may be on the newsletter list already or anything, but there's also some information coming out, and you can reach anybody, even though it's kind of coming to a close, through these outlets of the emails, the Instagram, the Facebook, and all those sort of things that we do. And that's a quick brief of the Green Office.
Thank you very much, Sierra, for that brief overview. And that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you very much, Guillermo, for taking your time and contributing with your knowledge, passion, and especially your positivity to address the true cost of a cup of coffee. Thank you for sharing different perspectives and the linkages of coffee production to climate change, education, community, and human rights. If you got interested in ordering coffee from Monteverde or experiencing Monteverde live yourself, please check out their homepages and their online shop. We all know, especially due to the current situation, that it is very important to support those initiatives